Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you how I achieve this neat application look. I'm going to be talking you through the steps and the tips to good application. Please watch this video, like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click the notification bell so you never miss a video, and enjoy. And I'm going in with a bead of soft beige from GLAMRNAILS, and with my application I like to start the first bead where the natural nail meets the nail tip and then blend that bead downwards. I work with a bead that's not too wet but not too dry either. I will do a separate video on how I pick up my beads, but you don't want the bead to be too wet, otherwise that's when your application with the bead will be too runny, so then the acrylic is moving about too much. You don't want that. You want it to be able to like drag down smoothly. So as you can see, once I've placed that first bead down, I'll go in with the second bead just above that first bead where I placed it, and then I will blend that down too. And then as I'm going in, I'm wiping down the side walls to make sure that the square shape remains the same. One thing people forget to do is to wipe down the side walls, and then it makes the nail thicker so that you have so much to file down. But if as you're going along, you're wiping down the side walls, wiping down the cuticle area, it makes it much easier to go back and refile the nails so that you have less filing to do. I say this in all my videos, but you want as least amount of filing to do at the end to make it much more easier and the process to go much more faster. And as you can see, I'm doing the same method for this now, placing my first bead where the tip meets the natural nail, blending that downwards, then going in with my second bead and placing that just above where I placed the first bead, blending that down whilst wiping the side walls, both sides, and then keep blending down so that it's nice and smooth. You have to go back and dip your brush into your monomer, wipe off the excess, and then use that to help you blend the beads together so that there's a smooth transition. This form of application is much easier to get the hang of and will just make doing nails much more quicker and easier for you. And then lastly, I'll go in with a bead at the cuticle. The bead at the cuticle, this is where you have to make sure that this bead is not runny at all. You do not want to flood the cuticles, because when you flood the cuticles, it's hard to see in which crevices, I don't even know if that's a word, in which corners, I don't know why I tried to do big words, in which corners that the acrylic has gone into. So if you were to file, you might not file and seal the cuticles properly, meaning that you would get lifting. So with your application around the cuticle, it's essential that you do not work with runny beads. And this now is going to be a soft sheer ombre. I'm going in with the first bead of soft white, and I'm placing that where the tip meets the natural nail and blending that down. And to strengthen the color a bit more, I'm going in with a second bead and placing that right on top of where I put the last bead and blending that down. And then I'm going to take the same soft beige and put that just above where I put that last bead and blend that down. The beads that I use for doing my ombre are always small because you want to get that perfect blend, and sometimes if you do a big bead, the blend is quite harsh. So with ombre, to make your application as neat as possible and not bumpy, you need to be taking small beads. Also, as you're going, make sure that you're wiping down the side walls, wiping down the free edge, to make sure that you maintain the shape that you originally started with. You won't maintain the exact same shape, but you will have a neater shape so that when you go back and file, there's not too much filing to do. And then as usual, you go back in with a bead of clear acrylic to encapsulate the ombre that you just did, to make sure that the blend is protected and that when you go back to file, you will not remove any of that acrylic that you've just put down. So this now is going to be encapsulated flowers, and what I like to do is put down the bead of soft beige first before I go in and then put the bead of clear acrylic to adhere the flowers to it. So that's what I like to do first, put down a bead of clear, stick the flowers onto the bead of clear, and then encapsulate it with a final bead of clear. It's a lot of clear, but just to protect the flowers so that when you file, you do not remove the flowers. Whenever you encapsulate something or do an ombre or anything that's not one color, I'd advise in encapsulating it. This also helps with your application and makes it much more smoother. And as you can see, wiping down the side walls is a thing that I do regularly. After I place every bead, I'll always wipe down the side walls to make sure that I retain the shape that I have already started with. Otherwise, you can do that and literally change the shape. Like you could start off with coffin and end with square if you do not wipe down the side walls or if you do not apply the acrylic neatly. And then for the thumb, I'm just doing the same that I did on the middle finger, applying that bead of soft white where the tip meets the natural nail, blending that downwards. And then what I'm doing is placing a second bead on top of where I put the first bead and blending that down too whilst wiping the side walls and the free edge. Then I'm going in with a bead of soft beige and I'll just place that right at the cuticle and push it into the spaces that it needs to be, and then blending that down. And you can't see, but I encapsulated this in clear too. So right now I've just slowed this clip down so you can see the application and see how smooth it is. There's no bumps. Literally at the cuticle, it's nice and flush. You want to make sure that everything is nice and smooth and flush at the cuticle. No acrylic on the skin, no acrylic flooding the cuticles, nothing like that. And you'll achieve that by making sure that your beads are nice and reasonably sized for whatever part of the nail that you're using. Whenever you're doing acrylic application, you need to see where you're applying the acrylic, how much acrylic you need, and pick up a bead size according to what you need it for. And so right now I'm going in with my 180 grit sanding band to file the surface of the nail, and then I'll go in and shape with my 80 grit to file down the side walls. And to be honest, acrylic application is something that it takes time to perfect. When I began doing nails, my acrylic application was the worst thing ever. Like, it was not the best. It was all bumpy, there was lumps, and also because at the time I wasn't working with a good acrylic brush, there was always acrylic stuck in my brush, which also like made my application even worse, because if you're a nail tech, you know how hard it is to work when there's acrylic stuck in your brush. Your brush doesn't it's not as flexible as it is, because once acrylic dries, it's rock hard. So your brush, imagine that stuck in your brush, it's not the best thing. So I'd advise getting a good brush, investing in a good brush. A good brush is not cheap, guys. Don't be getting them brushes from eBay that are not good, that are like £10. No, invest in a good brush. The brush I'm using in this video is from Hollywood Nail Supply. Once again, I'll see if I can link it down below, but usually the stuff that I get at the shop is not really on their website. But regardless, you can still check. I'm using a number 14. And yeah, those brushes, I really like their brushes. Those are the only brushes that I've used so far. I haven't tried anything else because Hollywood Supply is quite local, so I get quite a few of my like everyday stuff there. But yeah, like I was saying, acrylic application is something that it takes time to perfect. Like, just keep practicing. If you feel like a bead method helps you, then by all means go ahead and use that bead method, but just keep practicing and see what suits you and suits your style of nails, because everyone does nails differently. Like, every nail tech has their own style and twist on nails, so you pretty much have to work out what works best for you. And yeah. But application is so important as well, because when I first started off doing nails, my application, I told you, was not the neatest. So when I was sitting there doing some of my clients' nails, they'll be looking at it like, oh my gosh, is this what my nails look like? Oh my god, they look so lumpy. I know this is what is going through their head, in it, but like, it just helps with the presentation, because some of them would ask me, oh my gosh, it's bumpy, is it going to stay like that? I'll be like, no, I'll file them at the end. And then it would take me half an hour to file them smooth. So in that, like, I know a lot of people don't like sitting down long to get their nails done, so having smooth application really helps you the time that you're doing nails lessen. Like, the time you get quicker at doing nails, because when I started off, a set used to take me like 3 hours to do, sometimes depending on the design maybe even 4, but now I can do a good set in like an hour if it's a plain set, and an hour 30 minutes just for my regular sets. Longer sets take me like an hour 45, but maximum 2 hours. Like, you don't want to be having your client sitting in your chair for 3 hours unless you're doing like nail art or something, but for a basic set, 2 hours tops. So it just helps with everything and making your service more fast and efficient, at the same time providing quality nails. But guys, if you have any more questions about how to get perfect, not even perfect, but just improve your acrylic application, please leave them down below. I'll be glad to answer them for you. And that's all that there is for this video. Please like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel. Turn on the post notification bell so you never miss a video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with more videos, so stay tuned.